Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Welcome to the Rum Revival. My name's Arminder, and today we're talking about this Jamaican rum right here. This is the newest entry in Hampden Estate's annual Great House series. This is the 2024. Now, Hampden's been producing Great Houses since their 2019 release, and each release is a blend of different marks and vintages. Now, in terms of what marks and vintages make up the 2024, well, Hampden doesn't really say, at least not anywhere publicly that I found. For the first two releases, the 2019 and the 2020, they did share that it was a blend of longer aged, lower ester OWH mark and less aged, higher ester diamond H mark. Now the difference between the two releases was that in the 2020, the marks were aged one more year longer. Now, since those two releases, Hampden hasn't really shared what the blend breakdown of each release has been. That being said, between Instagram and Reddit, I found folks sharing what they say is the breakdown of the marks and vintages for this year. Now, I can't really vouch for their claims, but given the level of detail that they've shared, I'm assuming maybe they talked to someone at Hampden or one of their importers or distributors or someone in the know, and that person shared with them what the breakdown is. So, according to the internet, 50% of the rum here is the LFCH mark, which is the second to lowest mark in terms of ester count. And that mark was distilled in 2021, making it about a 3-year-old rum. Then another 20% of the rum is also LFCH, but a 2020 vintage, making it about a 4-year-old rum. So in total, 70% of this rum is LFCH between 3 to 4 years. Then, of course, there's the remaining 30%. Now, half of that, 15%, is the third highest mark in terms of esters, HGML, and its vintage is 2018, making it about a 5 to 6-year-old rum. Now, the remaining 15% is the highest ester mark, DOK, it's the 2021 vintage, making it about a 3-year-old rum. So that is the breakdown of this year's blend, unless it's not. So it's weird to me that they don't make that information publicly available, or like why they stopped making it available for the Great Houses. Hampden, goes to such lengths to create awareness of their 8 marks by, putting out 2 8 marks collection sets, as well as having a core release called HLCF Classic. So if they can lean into the whole mark thing there, I don't get why they don't do that with the Great House releases. Everyone who's going to spend like $130 to $145 for this, they'll want to know, so why not share it with them? Maybe their thinking is that if they feature a mark or blend of marks that isn't exciting, like it doesn't feature DOK, that maybe they're worried that rum folks aren't going to buy it. Or that folks might get turned off by a blend which features very recent vintages, meaning that there's like a lot of young rum in there. Like this kind of sort of has young rum in it, right? I mean, for the most part, it's 3 to 5-year-old rum. Look, I'm sure they have their reasons, but I don't know. It seems like weird to me that Hampden, of all brands and distilleries, wouldn't share that, given that they're all about that life. Now, as with all of their rums that include a medium or high ester mark in it, this is made from water, molasses, cane acid, dunder, and muck. The addition of cane acid and dunder help increase the acidity, which boosts the production of esters and other flavor compounds. Now, the addition of muck after the initial fermentation helps kickstart a secondary bacterial fermentation, creating even more yummy, delicious flavor compounds. And of course, if it wasn't obvious, this release, like all of Hampden's rums, is wild fermented and distilled on a double retort pot still. This year's release is bottled at 57% ABV, and I've seen it priced between $130 to $145. Let's give it a try. So on the aroma, I get 2 kinds of fruit. Let's talk about the first one, which is probably the more obvious one, or what you'd expect to maybe smell from a Hampden rum, and that's pineapple. And it's pineapple 2 ways. It's candied pineapple, almost like with a hint of lemon, but there's also like pineapple fruit leather, like a pineapple fruit roll-up, that kind of condensed, concentrated kind of fruit flavor, and that kind of little bit of sweetness, that. But I'm also getting kind of the concentrated flavors of raisins. Nice, plump, golden raisins. Now there are a couple of other notes that I'm getting outside of the fruit that I did want to share. One of them is barbecue potato chip. It's not full-on barbecue potato chip, but it's just sometimes it will evoke that when I smell it. I also get a little bit of freshly grated nutmeg, which kind of reminds me, given the time of the year, of eggnog actually. And then lastly, I get a touch of cough syrup, which is the thing I get in many of Hampden's rums. A little bit of like kind of Robitussin, or tussin kind of note, that little sharp medicine note. I've had other Hampden rums where it's a lot stronger. This is there, but it's light. I will say that this is a very, very enjoyable aroma. Maybe one of the more enjoyable Hampden aromas I've had in a very, very long time. All right, let's give it a taste. Cheers. Ooh. Ooh, it's tingling. I think that's delicious. So what am I getting? Well, I am getting some pineapple, as you kind of would expect from a Hampden Jamaican rum, like some charred sweet pineapple. But what really stands out is this dried fruit note, primarily of raisin. I got raisin on the aroma. I'm getting a lot of raisin on the palate. That richness and kind of concentrated fruit sweetness of a raisin, right? Which I think is enhanced by a touch of the wood, of a little bit of oakiness. It's not a lot of oakiness. It just adds, though, a little kind of depth to that flavor of the raisin. So that sweet golden raisin rides along with this structure of like baking spice sharpness, like some sharper baking spice notes. And that kind of shifts into this wave of like sour, bitter, acidic vomit, which is a thing I used to describe Hampden's rums. Now, many of Hampden's rums, like the HLCF Classic, that wave lasts a very long time and kind of dominates the whole experience on the palate. And for me, that's a bit too much and it's not really drinkable. But here, it just kind of jabs you, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. Quickly, that wave of sour acidity is followed by this very brief relief of this concentrated, pure, like sweetest pineapple note. It only lasts for like 2 seconds, but in comparison to that sour, sharp note that precedes it, it's like an oasis of heavenly tropical fruit. Don't get too used to it though, because it turns into this touch of cough syrup on the finish, which again is very kind of Hampden to me. And really that's how I think of this rum in terms of like a flavor spectrum. On one end, you've got that nice, rich, golden raisin note, and on the other end, you've got cough syrup. And to me, certain cough syrups have this raisin or grape dried fruit flavor. So in many ways, it feels like a natural progression to start with the raisin and end on that cough syrup. And then throughout that journey, right, it's punctuated by pineapple, but also that kind of jab somewhere over here of that sharp, sour, bitter note. And then underlying all of it, there's a little bit of that wood and oak, you know, to kind of just add a little bit of base. So I've been drinking this rum for about a week and a half. I'm kind of here now. And every day that I have it, I've come to like it more and more. At first, I hadn't really locked on to that kind of raisin note, but the moment it clicked, it totally unlocked the rum for me, and I've very much been enjoying it. Now, you might be wondering though, how does this compare to the other great houses? Well, I did do a video last year where I blind tasted the 2020, the 2021, the 2022, and the 2023 releases, and you can check out that video here or here, wherever the link is. And spoiler alert, my favorite was the 2020 release, followed by last year's, the 2023. Well, so what I did was a blind of those two rums with this one for my Patreon. And the question, of course, is how does this hold up to those? Well, in that blind, I liked it more. It was the winner. Though that being said, I actually, in that blind, liked the 2023 over the 2020, which was the opposite of when I did that tasting last year. So I don't know what that means, but yeah. Why I liked this over those was, for me, that sharpness, that overly funky, sour, intense note is a lot more curbed here. It's just a lot more kind of playing a little bit in the background. And I think in the 2023, it's a little more in your face. And for me, I've come to the realization that that kind of note, that overly funky, big, bold note is not something I overly enjoy sipping on. I think I like it in my cocktails, but as a sipper, that's not for me. Plenty of folks love that kind of stuff. Now, if you're in the market for a great house bottle and you have the option of buying the 2023, which I imagine is still out there and available, or this new one, personally, I would go with the 2024. To me, this is so much more drinkable and it's more my speed. And I think that's kind of the heart of it. If you like the bigger, bolder, funkier rums, even though this has DOK and HGML, to me at least, the 2023 feels a little bit more high ester and more funky. And I think it tastes more kind of classic Hampden, right? Because it has HLCF in it, that to me is kind of quintessential Hampden. So that release is very much typical of kind of a Hampden flavor profile. So if you like what you traditionally get out of Hampden, like if you love HLCF Classic, then yeah, get the 2023. However, I think if you're not necessarily a fan of something that feels highly funky or acidic, or you want something a little different that feels slightly out of kind of the standard stuff that Hampden does, then I think the 2024 is the way to go. It just adds that layer of uniqueness, that golden raisin note. I don't think I've had that kind of note before in a Hampden release, and Now that I've kind of locked in on that, I absolutely adore it. And I do think of all my Hampden releases, this is the one that I'm probably gonna actually finish a bottle of. I don't know why I still buy them every year. That's the collector in me, I guess. But I always buy them and I never end up getting past like halfway through because I think they're ultimately a little too intense for me. But this will probably be the first one that I will actually do a bottle kill, I think. All right, so that's my video on this year's Great House release. Have you tried it yet? And how do you think it compares to the other Great Houses? And do you have a favorite year? Let me know by leaving a comment down below. Now, if you want to support me and this channel, then check out my Patreon page. I try to put out one exclusive video a week there, and there's like a full year and a half's worth of like videos that you can watch there now. So, check that out. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Catch you all next time. Peace.